Now, let's look at this. How different is this report now from the one that Mr. Nuhu Ribadu actually came out with?
Well, it points to the same thing, that there are leakages in the system. Things will always leak in any case, but the leakage as a percentage of the total amount, when 20% of your income is leaking, then it's significant. If you're earning 100,000 naira, 20,000 naira is missing every month. It won't take you long before you feel it. For a country with 160 million people, of which over 43% of them are below the age of 16, then those losses are significant, not only for today, but for the generations, because you are actually signing up those children to perpetual poverty for the rest of time.
Well, like you just pointed out, it's no different from the one that Mr. Nuhu Ribadu's committee actually. Well, joining me now via telephone from Abuja is the House Committee Chairman on Finance, Abdul Mumuni Jubril. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, looking at the report, it seems that it's something that has been thrown up so many times. Now, as regards implementation of this report, we know that NATI has said that the biggest fear is the recommendations in their report might never be implemented. But surely in the face of seemingly damning evidence, about 8.40 billion naira is being owned by the PPRA and the NNPC, the federal government ministries must do something to act swiftly. So what is it that the House Committee is actually going to be doing right now as regards this?
Well, first of all, let me say very clearly, this is a huge vindication of the position of the House Committee on Finance, by extension the House of Representatives. We've raised the alarm severally, and we actually saw this coming. We've looked at the books of NNPC severally. We alerted the country. We did what we are supposed to do. And I tell you this, the position of 90, there is nothing wrong with it. 90 position is accurate. I believe in the integrity of the management of 90. I believe in their report. And by the time the House resume plenary in a month's time or thereabout, we will table the report and find a way out of this situation.
So that means there's actually a little bit of hope that this report will actually be implemented, because we know that Mr. Nuhu Ribadu actually did, a similar finding, had similar findings like what NATI has actually brought out. So we will probably see an implementation of this report.
Well, I don't want to comment about the Ribadu report. He never consulted the National Assembly. If he had done that, probably we would have had something to say about that. But I know of the 90 report. I know their processes. I know how they come about, their figures. And we've been working hand in hand with them, exchanging facts. And by the time we resume, it's not going to be swept under the carpet. We'll bring back the report to the forefront, discuss, deliberate on it, and of course, actions will be taken.
Well, definitely actions must be taken, because we know that for a certainty that infrastructure is actually suffering probably as a result of this. So what are we actually going to be expecting here on as regards infrastructure?
Well, of course, there's a huge challenge now of revenue. Of course, we all know the cases of massive theft of crude oil. We haven't seen any strong, decisive measure being taken by the executive to combat this. And so long as we continue to have a situation where our revenue is dwindling, then we'll continue to have huge challenge or wide gap or deficit in the process of funding our infrastructure development. So it's a clear case. It's quite open. If you build up resources, you can start talking about funding infrastructure. But from the perspective of the Parliament, we've suggested a couple of ways that infrastructure in this country, particularly capital expenditure, can be funded. We must start looking at funding capital expenditure from the private sector angle, rather than the situation of going to continue to borrow money here and there and piling more and more debt for the country.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us on Business Morning today. We do appreciate the time. Well, I've been speaking with the House of Reps Committee Chairman on Finance, Abdul Mumuni Jubril, and we've been getting his own take on the NATI report and how it's actually going to affect infrastructure. Like he said, when the House resumes plenary, that will be a subject that will come up definitely, and so we'll be watching how things develop and we'll bring them to you. But I'm still on the show with the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Financial Derivatives, Mr. Theft-Rewane, and that's what we've been looking at in the last couple of minutes. But like, this is our closing shot now.
Yeah.
We know that for a certainty, NATI has come up with some recommendations.
Yes.
Now, these recommendations, are they implementable? And if they are implementable, how should they be implemented?
Well, NATI says that there should be increased transparency, says that there should be greater accountability, that records should be kept, and but the point is that what are the sanctions for non-implementation? What are the sanctions for leakages? What are the sanctions for just talking and not implementing? So again, we can talk from now to tomorrow. We've been talking for the past 20, 30 years and accomplishing nothing. Nigerians are sick and tired of just talk without action. So it's time to take some steps. I'm seeing concrete steps that can translate into effects on people. Every dollar saved and every dollar spent efficiently changes the lives of so many people. That is the question. So it's not, we can't afford the downtime, because I can assure you that the price of oil is going to come under pressure in the next 2 to 3 years. And at that point in time, your population growth rate and all that you will have more mouths to feed, and people become more desperate. The income inequality between the rich and the poor. Right now, the Gini coefficient of difference between the poor and the rich is about 48.3. It used to be about 43 in 2010, which means the higher the number, the higher the income inequality. What makes people angry? Is it poverty or inequality? I would dare say that inequality is what makes people angry. Inequality and affluent consumption in the face of stark poverty and reality are things that are causing disaffection. You cannot afford disaffection of this magnitude. One, revenues are leaking. Two, that which is accruing is inefficiently spent. And thirdly, there's a growing population of disaffected people.
Well, like the House Committee Chairman on Finance, Abdulmumin Jibrin, said, it's something that will definitely come up when the House resumes. And so I'm sure every Nigerian is actually going to be looking forward to when that happens. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Theft-Rewane, for joining us this morning on the program. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.